Hello, and welcome to this part 18 of my series on building my own magic set. And this time I'm going to be talking about the reds and mythics that weren't part of the cycles from part 14 or 15. I forget. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's 14. Yes, 14. Um, yeah, I should learn to count. Anyway, um, the red I sort of feel like I forgot in blue and black. I was just eager to put things into there. Like but I forgot much of the flavor of the world. Or even though I might have had like in the back of my head the idea that I want something specific for the world, um, I at least I forgot to talk about it in those videos largely. So let's begin with that. Um, but yes, on the other hand, I think the flavor of the world comes through better in red than in blue and black. White is also better than blue and black in that sense, or at least I feel like it. Um, so the flavor with red is that it's all about these. Well, not all about, but it's largely about these people who are the flagellants who feel that they've done something wrong in their previous lives to have ended up here. So that's why I put in some, actually quite a bit of this like flavor of, uh, you know, self-harm for religious purposes, willingness to kill yourself for whatever reason. Um, I did put in a little bit of other themes as well, but well, we'll get to that. And of course, I did put in a dragon and a phoenix, just because, well, I think one should have those in red if you just can. Not well, not necessarily. If you don't have a good reason to put either of them in the set, you obviously shouldn't. But since I don't know, I didn't have a good reason not to do it. Apparently, I've forgotten to list power and toughness for this specific dragon. Here we are. Is that good? Yeah, that seems good. Anyway, so also I like goblins, so I did want to put in a rare goblin, although I already had one. So if you're new here, these three here are covered in part 14, as well as this weird god being. Um, so let's start with the reckless martyr. Although now that I say the name out loud, I have a feeling that I might have had something similar in commons or uncommons. Apparently not. Again, it's a bad name. I really should work more on these names. Like now they're just descriptive, basically, rather than flavorful. Um, then yeah, Goblin Soldier, 1 and R, 2/1 haste, and if it dies during combat on your turn, untap all creatures you control. There is another combat phase after this one. Would Marcel Martyr be good name? I don't know, but I do like this. It creates weird pull in the game, like weird weird interactions, because you do have to let it die in order to do this. So this is why I gave it haste, so that um, at least you have an opportunity to surprise your opponent with this. But even then, they don't necessarily have to block it. So yeah, there's that. So I guess you should probably, if you, I don't know, of course you can help this by, you know, sacrificing it for whatever. There seems to be some sacrifice effect in every set for black now, uh, which is would be fine, except that they've otherwise messed this up by giving the black creatures too much benefit for dying. Anyway, yeah, just kind of a standard thing. Most of these effects are on Mythic, but I decided that this would be, I would put this to in rare just because of the complexity of using this. You can't just like there's the big Minotaur that gave you extra combat step just on landfall and stuff like that, which are much easier. Now your opponent has to play along and block it to kill it, or you have to do it yourself somehow. Then Furious Dragon, and in my mind it's Furious because it ended up here. But Dragon 3RR, 4/4 flying. Maybe it should have haste, I don't know. But anyway, whenever you surveil, create a treasure, and one sacrifice a treasure, creatures you control gain +1/+0 until end of turn. So I guess yeah, that's part of why it's Furious, because its treasures are being destroyed. The treasures it has tried to hoard are being destroyed. But anyway, take that how you will. Then Martyr's Blood, instant XRRR, so triple R. This spell costs Y less to cast, where I is the total mana value of cards put into your graveyard this turn. So either surveil or, you know, just dead creatures, and then it deals X damage to any target. I don't remember when was the last time they used Y. I think they've only, have they used it on anything other than one version of Fireball back in the day? Not sure. But anyway, I decided to put it here. It's a rare, so I think it ought to be fine. Yeah. Hard to say. And of course, there is the additional trouble of possibly having to figure out what was put into your graveyard this turn. Which, I don't know. I guess I'm making a little bit, thinking too much about Arena, where this is kind of easy. Then Erratic Fiend, Devil, 6RR, 3/4 Prowess. This spell costs Y less to cast. Y is the total mana value of cards put into your graveyard this turn. When card name enters the battlefield, discard your hand and draw 3 cards. Why did I put the Y here? No reason. Anyway, it's kind of this. It's closely the cost reduction is similar to the last, well, basically the same as the last bet, so I probably just copied that. Not sure. Anyway, otherwise, obviously, this is kind of the same as that one creature from the second Innistrad block. Why do I keep forgetting the names of these cards? But there was like 8 mana 3/4, which cost 1 less for each instant or sorcery in your graveyard, and it had prowess, and it had the same effect that you discard your hand and draw 3 cards. So you have to work to get the benefit, the cost reduction. So you might be stuck with this in your hand, especially if it gets like bounced. You might really be stuck with it for a while. depending on the situation. Then Martial Farewell enchantment for RR, and this spell costs 1 less to cast, 1 less for each point of damage dealt to opponents this turn. Double all damage dealt by soldiers and warriors you control. So it's, you know, soldier and warrior tribal enchantment, basically. You can get it down pretty early. Which often just means that you'll be able to make better trades early on in the game, but it can also mean that you can run over your opponent, which is obviously bad and wouldn't want that to happen too often, but that's why it's a rare. And a rare that's not necessarily very usable in constructed. Then Rampaging Champion, Orc Warrior 4 RR, 4/4, players can't gain life, and Haste Trample. I don't know why I felt the need to put a creature in the here that stops life gain. But I did. There's some cards that gain life, but not many synergies. So in that sense, it's not very important. But obviously, as like in an aggro deck, you might want to be able to stop life gain. Then Vyasina Magus, which is Vyasina Wizard, 1 2/1 prowess. Whenever you surveil, draw that many cards instead, and then discard that many cards. Obviously, this stops like surveil, all surveil synergies, which is a bad thing. But on the other hand, looting might be much better than surveilling in many cases. Yeah. Although I guess the problem here is that red does a lot of rummaging, not necessarily that much looting, but I don't know. I felt that this would be better than having rummage. Yeah, and obviously this can be beneficial to you in some cases, and some cases not. Like if you don't have any cards in hand, you don't have any options to do anything with this. But if you have even that one land or whatever, an unnecessary card, then this gives you a lot of options. And this gives you an opportunity to draw what you need now, not just leave it on top of your library to draw it next turn. Although now that I think about it, should I have some like mill effect in this set? I probably don't have any at this moment. Like you could mess with surveillance with those. So in that sense, they could be important for the set. Or is that just too much of a feel bad thing? Interesting question. Maybe there should be something, but it should only be like one-time deal instead of like constant thing. I don't know, maybe. Then, but moving on to the mythics. So there's the Howling Firebird, Phoenix, 2/RR, 3/3, Flying Haste. Whenever you surveil a creature in the graveyard, you may return card name to your hand. I guess I should from the graveyard. Yeah, kind of a basic Phoenix. Like this is what you get quite often, something that specifically reacts to something that's going on within that set. Like what are good examples? Why can't I remember any good examples for it? Um, well, there's the Escape Phoenix in Theros, and there was in Ikoria, there's the Mutating Phoenix, and uh, there's the in Tarkir there was the Morphing Phoenix, and so forth. And well, that's not necessarily specifically an Ixalan thing, but there was in Ixalan block there was the old Phoenix, which would when it died it would leave behind the 0/1, which would turn into Phoenix again in the upkeep. So yeah, there's a lot of different Phoenixes, but many of them are somehow related to the theme of the set. I guess the last Phoenix was in Strixhaven, unless I've forgotten something specific. I think that had something to do with learn. Yeah, I think it was that you, instead of learning, you could choose to put it into your hand, and then when you cast it, you could learn again, or something like that. I think that's the last official Phoenix we've had in standard. Not sure, but I think so. And then finally, Frugal says, human wizard 1 and R, 1/3. Whenever you survey a card in the graveyard, you may exile it instead. If you do, you may play that card this turn. Yeah, gives you quite a bit of card advantage. So that's why I put it into Mythic, although in general they usually aren't Mythics creatures that are just, this small. Okay, next time I'll go through the rest of the green rares and Mythics, and yeah, after that there's only the colorless stuff left, and then I'll have some sort of overview. So yeah, I closing in on the end. But anyway, thanks for listening. Feel free to do the YouTube things, and I'll actually do the green one right after this. So by the time you're listening to this, the green one should probably be already available. But yeah, see you there, hopefully.